show the working version of that, there's going to be some sections where the snippet or the graphic is pink. It's a pink field. When I see that pink field, I'm going to bring up another file and I'll show you what she's trying to do. Okay, so I've got a slide of some information or a slide of a graphic, and I'll just say this is where she's going to go to slide into. So while I'm not always presenting like I'm presenting to an audience, I'm explaining why you may see me, make a comment here. Okay, here I'm going to pivot to my other, file for just a minute and tie that together. I hope that makes sense. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get going. And before I even open up the file, or before I would even distribute the file, like we said in the, if I go through that checklist, right, and go through the notes, the first thing I'm going to do is always, I'm going to introduce myself. Good morning. It's a real pleasure to be with you this morning. My name is Steve Murray. I'm with the Kepler Digital Showroom Program, and we're here this morning to help you get up and running with the program. Chris, let me ask. I appreciate your hospitality this morning and allowing us to come into the office. Let me just as a little bit of a foundational question here. Let me ask, what do you know about the Kepler Digital Showroom?
Only what you guys have shown me and told me so far. So I know that it's a client-facing portal where they can basically have ownership over their frame boards. They don't get to choose what's coming much because it's basically sorted by the best-selling product for each brand, and it's shipped out to them. And it's I guess it gives a brand uniformity for them and kind of takes the I guess you can say the need to sort through collections and piecemeal it yourself. It just makes it easier on the staff.
That's all great points, Chris. Thanks. Right. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through our journey together. But yes, the Kepler Digital Showroom, right, is a collection of best-selling and latest styles and hottest trends, as selected by Kepler leadership and the manufacturer. And these curated assortments are composed in a way to align nicely with this program. The program will allow you to have a static board. What do we mean by static board? It means the frames are designed to always stay on the board. And by doing so, right, you're going to put yourself in the best position to be successful, to increase your sales, increase your capture rate, because you'll always have these best-selling frames, the latest styles, hottest trends on display. Product is we have inventory on the product in Dallas, so there's a very, very low risk of having back orders or issues. So that's always a nice thing. You don't need to worry about that. And the product's refreshed twice a year, right? So the collection's going to get refreshed with spring and fall. And the nice thing as well is that these frames in our program are connected with Wallman. So the frames will go behind the scenes. We'll get to Wallman. That way, from a complete job perspective, your life becomes very easy. Patients get a new frame every time. And with this program, this tool is going to give you a nice way to being able to manage your frame board, meaning making sure, right, that there's no holes, making sure that the best product available is always shown. That way, your retail experience should translate into higher sales, higher capture rate. You're in essence, what you're doing is you're pleasing more customers, right? So we're really excited to bring this to you. What I'll do this morning is walk through a welcome guide and a training kit that's been designed both by our team as well as Kepler operational support. Stop me along the way if you've got any questions. I'm going to distribute now. We'll go ahead and distribute out copies of the guide. And what we'll do is we'll walk through this. And then when we're done, what I'll do is we'll do a live demonstration of the portal. All right. So while we walk through how to order the product, with our guide. I know sometimes people, you might learn better like me by actually doing it and seeing a live example. So we'll do that at the end of the welcome kit review. Okay. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and I will share share the welcome kit. You can see they did a nice job, by the way. I mean, I think this is it's a much more elegant training tool than it was than our PowerPoint. I like our PowerPoint better, but nonetheless, this is a nice guide for behind. So we'll turn to page 2 of the welcome kit, right? Of the KDS welcome kit. And as you can see, right, here's really the three things, three main big benefits that you'll realize by leveraging the Kepler Digital Showroom, right? We're going to have instant access to the best product with fast and direct lab delivery, right? So it makes life easy for pleasing your patients. Why use the showroom, right? One, again, the optimized frame selection. Again, Kepler leadership has been working with the manufacturers to curate these assortments. You're going to have hassle-free ordering. This portal is easy. It really, really is. If you've been in optical for a day and a half, I think you can figure this out. This is pretty easy. And direct lab integration, right? We work, these frames will go directly to Wallman. Wallman will receive the frame properly and be able to match it up to the lens order that you've got in the building, do the complete job, and get it back to your office, right? Pretty straightforward. Now, the ordering guide, right, is designed to help us guide you through the journey of how to enter a frame. Let me just say transparently, once you get the hang of this and you understand the do's and don'ts, right, you can order a frame very quickly. And when I say very quickly, I mean, it might take you a minute and a half the first time you do it, but once you get in the swing of things, you can order a frame in about 30 seconds, right? It's not very hard. But there are some things that are going to be very critical to remember. And I'll always come back to say, look, if there's 3 things that you remember from all this, these are the 3 things you really, really want to remember. One is you want to enter the complete job order together, meaning you start with the lens order. So we're going to enter that lens order first, and the lens order is entered in your normal manner. We'll cover all that here, but your typical way that you enter your lens order doesn't change. The lens order is the same. What we're going to ask is, not long after you enter that lens order, right, please enter the frame order. And that's where you would come into the Kepler Digital Showroom portal and enter that frame order, so that make sure make sure there's, that we are meeting the right service levels. Make sure that there's, it doesn't get that you don't forget to enter the frame order, right? Just do it in the same moment. Develop that habit of getting the lens order entered and then the frame order. Again, easy peasy. You get the frame, put the frame back in the frame board if you actually pull it off to enter, and away you go. And the third thing is to ensure the accuracy of the order. We ask for what we would say is the RX job order ID. And what that is that's the lens order confirmation or the lab authorization number. And we're going to show you where you can see that. But let's say, for example, in VisionWeb, when you get a lens order, right, that confirmation is a SP123456. We're going to ask you to electronically highlight, copy, and paste that into the frame order. That allows us to properly match the frame to the lens. And if you write it down on a piece of paper, you might invert a 1 for an L or an O for a 0. We're going to walk through a nice and easy way to do that. But very simply put, when you see that confirmation number, just electronically highlight it, copy, because we're going to ask you to paste it in here. Couple of other tips, right? So the portal really is best used under either Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. Your user sessions time out after 30 minutes of inactivity. So if you're with a patient, you're logged in, you're doing something, right? Then you get distracted and you're away from your computer for 30 minutes or more. It'll sign you out, and you might lose the progress that you had, right? So you want to make sure that prior to either stepping away or whatever, you close out that activity. And lastly, real-time updates on frame orders are given every 15 minutes inside the portal. So, you can feel rest assured if you need to see an update on where your frame order is and the like, you can see it inside the portal. Now, one thing that Kepler would like us to remind you is that, you can, if you need a special order frame, right, a frame that's not available in the Kepler Digital Showroom, it will be classified as a special order frame. So you'll need to place that order via mykeplervision.com, which will automatically create a Zendesk ticket. The frame will be shipped to the practice, and then it's up to you to get that frame to the lab for processing. And as an aside, we'll say that, the Kepler Digital Showroom doesn't pretend to be the manufacturer, right? And what we're designed to do is to bring, again, curated assortments from the best brands in the world to your office and put it up on your board and have product to support that, have inventory in Dallas to support that product demand for the life cycle of that frame inside our collection. We're not going to have all 5,000 SKUs of Ray-Ban as an example, that or how many SKUs they have, right? That the manufacturer has, and if we were trying to duplicate inventory, it'd be cost prohibitive and not good business practice. What we do though is, for when we say we've got a frame in our collection, we maintain inventory for that, dedicated in Dallas to support, an on-time, and just-in-time type of deliveries inside the laboratory. When you need a different size, a different color, or a frame that's just not outright available, this is how you go about that for your special order frame. Now, the portal can support 3 main types of orders. And I want you to conceptually think about this for a second, right? There's 3 types. And you can say, what do you mean by 3 types? Well, the first type is complete job, right? A frame is tied to a lens for your complete job. And we'll walk through those scenarios based upon the provider type, whether it's private pay or managed care, right? The other 2 types are frame to office. Now, you might have a need to replace a frame for the board. So so the second type is frame to office for board. And then the third type is frame to office for patient. And the distinction here is going to be, one, if you order it for board, right, you're replacing a board sample. It means you took a frame off the frame board, and now you've got to replace it, right? The benefit of a static board is most realized when the board is full, right? If you take a frame off the board and you don't backfill it, guess what? You're going to be you might not be showing a bestseller, and you might lose out on sales. We get members that are in this program in a program like this, and one of the things we often hear within the first week that they're in the program is, "Man, I sold that Wayfarer 3 times a day, and I could have never have done it, right, if I didn't have it on display." So you want to make sure that all your product is constantly on display. If you take a frame off the frame board and you need it for some urgent reason, right? Patient says, I'm going to the lake this weekend and I want those frames right now, and I don't want to wait for a new frame or a sunglass or whatever. Yeah, you can sell the frame off the board, but you got to replace it. And we're going to walk you through very quickly how to get a replacement so that the frame comes in the next day to your office and you fill that hole. Or if a frame is needed for a patient approval, right? A warranty that you're okay with they're okay with, coming back in a day or 2 for the job, or if it's you're edging and mounting, right? Right. You'll order those frames for frame only to office for patients. And when they come into your office, they'll be without the tags, right? There will not be a UPC barcode on it, right? It'll be a brand new frame ready to go for patient. And it'll reflect as such in the paperwork that Kepler sees as well on the financial side, right? So there's a difference in those 2 things, but again, in general, there's 3 types of orders, right? It's going to be the complete job, frame only to office for board, which means it'll come in with the tags, and then a frame only to office for patient, meaning no tag, right? So let's walk through these together. So first, we're going to talk about the private pay ordering process. That basically is meaning how do we enter a frame when it's tied to a private pay job, right? Well, remember, the first step is always to do what? You remember what the first step was? if you're doing a complete job, what's the first step?
Job first.
Exactly. The first step is to enter your lens. And you're exactly right. So we enter the lens. Enter the lens like normal, right? And what you want to try to make sure is that it's there's really no difference here to what you're doing today, probably, right? Because I know you use Revolution as your PMS, right? So non-fully integrated, if you will. Your job type, when you come to your job type, right? You want it to be a frame to come for Wallman, and Wallman, they've got the job type inside VisionWeb is the drop down is frame enclosed, but it's the same thing, frame enclosed, frame to come, right? That's the idea, because you want to treat our inventory as your inventory, as your back stock, as the inventory that you might even have on the premises, right? So it is frame to come. Again, the box will be frame enclosed. It will be the check down inside VisionWeb is how Wallman translates that. And then when you get that order number, when you get that SP 123456 order number, we're going to ask you to come out and highlight that, copy it, and bring it into our portal. Here's a snippet, right, of what it looks like inside VisionWeb. So again, when you're entering your lens order, your job type is frame enclosed. The lab translates that as frame to come. And then when you get your RX order ID, you'll peel that information from. Let me see if I've got that here. I do not. Let me see if it's over here. She hasn't sent that to me yet. But the RX order D, when you get to that, you get that order confirmation, right? There's going to be an SP 123456, and we need you to electronically highlight and copy it, because I'm going to ask you to paste it into the Kepler Digital Showroom portal here, and when you're entering the frame. So you're going to enter your lens as normal. And then electronically highlight, copy, and then we're going to go into the Kepler Digital Showroom to find the frame, and then that ordering process will follow that up here in just a second. Now let's talk about if your practice is set up to auto transmit orders via VisionWeb, right? Make sure you ensure the correct frame selections for successful transmission. Now let's talk about and we're not fully integrated, here, because y'all are on Revolution, so not anything to worry about here. Let's go down now to insurance jobs, right? So the insurance piece, there is some variability here, but not much. It's very, very simple. First step is if you're in a complete job that's leveraging an insurance, a covered job under insurance. What's the first step?
Place your lens order.
Perfect. All right, so there you go. Place your lens order, and do it in your normal manner, right? So you're going to enter. You're going to go file the claim again by provider, and then recognize that look, if it's VSP, you want to walk through the VSP. Process to get your lab authorization. But one thing that's important about VSP is make sure your job type is doctor supply to come, right? Don't check lab supply. Don't do anything like that, because if you check the lab supply, guess what's going to happen? Because then you're going to come to the Kepler Digital Showroom portal. You're going to order a frame, then you're going to have two frames, right? And y'all will not receive the benefit that you think you're getting through the process. And VSP is going to be charging you for a frame on top of it, right? So it's just not. Make sure you take the right job type, if you will, and it's doctor supplied to come on VSP. With iMed Versant, it's very similar, right, to private pay, right? So all you're simply going to do there is going to copy that e-order number that begins with that SP 12356. That is, iMed Versant is a frame to come. Do not mark the order KPFR. If the frame is being ordered through the digital showroom, mark the order as frame to come. Right? And again, once you get that SP12356, we're going to ask you to highlight and copy. And you usually expect terror if there is any. Right, that's a very simple. You're going to get the V and the 13 characters. We're going to ask you for that information here at the conclusion, and once you get that order confirmation. Here are some types of orders and where you can find the information for your order, the lab authorization number that we're seeking. Right. So first of all, again, remember inside VSP, it's doctor supply to come. And once you get that authorization and the packing slip type, confirmation, right? All you need to do is copy that 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 information. That's the number that we're really trying to key in on to marry that frame with the lens order inside the lab. For iMed, another screenshot here, right? It's frame to come because again, it's functioning just like it is for private pay. Right? And then they've got a snippet here for what they're going to use for that. For VBA, very similar process, right? For VBA, again, once you enter your VBA frame to come, what we're going to basically do is ask you once you get your order entry wizard confirmation like this, copy and paste this authorization number because we're going to ask that for that information for the RX order ID. Okay. And one last point here, right? If your practice is set up to auto-transmit optical orders via Eyefinity, you must ensure that the correct frame selections to guarantee proper transmission and reduce potential duplicate frames. Again, here, your office is on Revolution, so we're not worried about the fully integrated, direction here. We'll go ahead and skip past this, okay? Now, Kepler Digital Showroom is currently compatible with VSP, iMed, and VBA plans processed at any Wallman Optical Lab location. Be sure to follow the steps outlined earlier, as VisionWeb and VSP orders should not be marked as lab supplied. And iMed orders should not include KPFR. If orders are marked this way, the lab will contact you to request that the frame order be placed through the Kepler Digital Showroom. If the frame is not available in the KDS, it will be considered a non-DC supplied frame, and you'll need to place the order through mykeplervision.com. All right. Any questions so far? Great. All right. Now, so let's get to the ordering process. Now we get to the fun, right? So these are just some snippets of the frame board to give you a feel for what it looks like. But again, we'll see this when we click into a live demo here in just a minute. So the first step is to log in, right? So you should have received a welcome email from us with your temporary temporary password. Excuse me. You need to reset that to get to establish your password that you'll use for the next 90 days. But once you log in at myframeboard.com, you're going to come to a home page or a landing page that looks like this. Now, like I said, we'll get into some more of the details of what's on that ribbon and how this thing works, but very simply put, if you're not worried about any of that, you just want to order a frame, right? You got a minute to order the frame. How do you do this? Well, very quickly, you log in, you get to the home page, make sure your cursor is left-hand justified inside that search field, and then you simply, for the frame that you need, you either can scan the UPC barcode for the most accurate, and I would highly recommend you do that for the most accurate way of making sure you get the right frame. Scan the barcode that you have for that frame. Now, there's a couple different places you can get that barcode. We'll talk about that as we get deeper into the portal. But let's say you've got the frame in hand, you've got your scanner, you just hit that barcode, right? It's going to bring you right to the frame, and it'll say, order this frame. You click order this frame. Now, the portal is going to default to the complete job mentality, meaning where you've already entered your lens order. Now we need to enter the frame, and we're going to ship the frame to your laboratory, right? So to Wallman to complete the complete job. It defaults to that. So if let's pretend in this scenario this is for a complete job, right? This is that first scenario of the three that we talked about. So number one is send the frame to the lab, make sure it defaults there, yes. Or step number 6 here, right? Make sure that the lab is where you've entered the lens order. That's a big thing. We want to make sure that we're sending the peanut butter and jelly to the same place, because if not, we're going to make peanut butter sandwiches, not peanut butter and jelly, right? You want to make sure that the lens and the frame are at the same laboratory. And there's not an ability to change the frame inside change the laboratory inside the frame portal. So if there's that need to change the lab, we need to do some programming on our side. You need to let us know, okay? Step number 7, this is where we're going to ask you to provide to select the provider type, right? And when you click on the down arrow, you'll see that there's provider type is private pay, VSP, IMED, VBA, etc. Pick the provider type, okay? And then depending on the provider type, right, we're going to ask you for your first name and last name of the patient, not your name, but the patient's first name and last name, and then that RX order ID. This is where you're going to paste that order confirmation, the lab authorization, right? You're going to paste it right in there. Once you do that, this bottom field's going to will turn dark, right? It's like it's now functional, and all you do is click order frame. It's that simple. And you put the frame back on the frame board, sell it again. If you had taken it off to enter the frame order, okay? That's how you would do a complete job. Now, if I'm going to do a frame only to office for patient, right? This is going to be one again where, do you remember? I talked a little bit about this earlier, but do you remember the difference between the one for patient versus the one for the board?
It's going to come with a tag or without a tag.
Perfect. Exactly. Right. So the one for patient is going to come with no tag, right? Because it's exactly what it's saying, for patient, right? So step 1 is, and you would use those in case, again, what would be those scenarios, right? It'd be one where there's a patient acceptance. I'd like to try that frame on before I agree to buy it. Or you've got, an edge and mount, situation. You edge in the office and come back tomorrow or in 2 days and we'll have it all ready for you, right? Or it's a situation, it's a warranty job, and you can afford to wait a few days without taking the frame off the board, right? Again, our encouragement would always be keep the frame on the board. Work to bring in a new frame, because we ship them overnight. You'll have the frame the next day, right? So we always encourage you to keep the frame on the board. But so if you've done that, if you're successful in that kind of approach, right, you're ordering frames for patient. And again, how do you do that? Again, log into the portal, myframeboard.com, log in user and password. You find the frame. Again, you can do it either by using the barcode or by typing your heart's content. But I would tell you, if you type and search for an ORX 5220A, right, you want to make sure you're finding the right color, style, color and size, right? There's plenty of instances where members, unfortunately, you chose the wrong size, and that causes delay and disappointment, right? So you want to make sure to be extremely accurate. Use the barcode, make sure that's right. But once you find the frame, you click order frame. Here, what you're going to do, remember the portal defaults to ship frame to lab. Now you're going to click it. You're going to move it over. You're going to select my office instead, right? So this is now my office. And in here, if it's for a patient, right, you leave this unchecked, which is this is for my display board. You leave that unchecked, and you just fill in the patient name, first and last name in the patient name fields, and then you click order frame. This at that point will turn dark. Function, that it'll, it's a clickable field, and then you toggle yes or you click on order frame. It's that simple. Now, if you need a frame for board, what do you think it looks like, right? I bet you $5 y'all can figure this one out really, really easily, right? You're gonna log in, you're gonna find the frame, you're gonna come down, and you're gonna move this over to my office instead of the complete job where you're sending it to the lab. You bring it to my office, so you send it over to my office. Now, if it's for the board, you need a frame with tags on it. Now I'm just simply going to go here and I'm going to click. I click on the box. that activates the signal that, hey, this is for a display board. We need it with tags. You're not going to be asked for, the name fields go away, and the order frame function opens up, and you take it from there. You click order frame. Just as easy as that. Now, there is a section of the portal that does allow you to check your frame order status, right? So once you've ordered a frame, you can check the status to make sure, in case there was a question or whatever, did it get to Wallman, that kind of thing. You come out to here, and on the top, this dark, or the broad ribbon across the center, you click on orders. And you'll see that there's two different things to see out there. There's a My Orders, and that's going to give you an order history. We show an order history for about 30 to 60 days. Once it falls off, don't worry. If you ever needed that kind of history, you need further information, whatever, you can always reach out to customer service. We can get that information for you. It's just how much history the portal maintains. We certainly have it all, in other reporting. But if you need to see your order history, you just click on Orders, My Orders, and then you'll see here, right, you'll see the orders and order status. So we've protected some patient information here, right? So these are truncated type of fields, if you will. You'll actually have the full patient name and the full FR of the full frame order number, as well as the full complete job or RX order ID number, right? But this has been, like I said, truncated or abbreviated to for HIPAA compliance. Now, here's some common things that we see, right? Some things that you want to try to avoid. One, you want to make sure that the lens is going to the lens and the frame are going to the same lab. I think for you, that'll probably be very easy, but just nonetheless, you won't often make that mistake, but just nonetheless remember that, right? Two, you want to verify the RX order ID is accurate, because like I said, it's really easy to juxtapose an O for a 0 or an I for a 1. Now, if you do create a situation like that where it's unmatched, look, that's not fatal for us, but it just takes longer for the frame to come team at Wallman to marry the lens with the frame, right? You want to make sure you select the right job type for VSP when you're ordering within the VSP scenario. And then for special cases, right? Plano, patient approval, warranty, edge and office jobs, right? Always send the frame to my office for proper order clarification. And then if you take a frame off the frame board and you sell it or do something, right, you got to replace that frame. Again, I can't stress that enough, right? The value of the program will be, you have the greater chance to succeed and achieve all the value of the program if you keep that frame board full at all times, right? And full of the curated assortment. Just a few helpful tips here, and we'll walk through this as well on the portal demo when we get there. But the My Collection tab, there's going to be some tabs, in the sections of the portal. My Collection will always tell you the frames that you should have on the board at all times. So if there's ever a question of, what frame should I have? What do I have by brand? And it's all right there in My Collection. You'll see that. And then, right, the Help Center. The Help Center is under development right now. We're working with Kepler, right, to finalize the documents and the things that they'd like to have there. But certainly the Help Center will contain, very key pieces of information, things like this welcome kit, right, and other pieces of key information will be out there as well. Now, the one thing that I'll say is that, as I said earlier in the program, earlier in this discussion, one of the really strong benefits of our program is that, we work really, really hard to maintain our inventory on the frames that make up our curated assortments. And in general, we have a 98% fill rate with that. It means, of all the, tens of thousands of frames that we ship at any given time, 98% of those are on hand, everything's fine, no issues. There are occasionally situations where inventory might get lean, right? Now, that's really not to worry, because we get shipments in at least twice a week from each of our manufacturers. We're constantly managing our inventory. We're constantly looking at it, but things can occasionally happen. And the scenario that I love to talk about is we had a situation with our program, years earlier where we had plenty of SKUs of a particular Wayfarer, Ray-Ban Wayfarer, son that was a good, strong seller. We had plenty of stock, but, and this is pre-COVID, we were in the office. So, we started to get some, alerts that this one particular SKU had gone from having plenty of inventory to suddenly zero. And what we saw was there was a member of our program, that was in Chicago. They had a wedding party, a bridal party that came in, and they wanted everybody that was in the party to be wearing the same sunglasses for all the photos. And they needed 50 copies of this Wayfarer. They just rained the stock, right? Now, that wasn't the end of the world because we had like 47 pieces on hand and there was 3 that suddenly went in the back order. But the other thing that was okay was we had another shipment that was, at our dock, basically at the Dallas DC. It just needed to be received and put away, and we were going to recover very quickly. And that's what I mean. In most of these cases, whenever you see a message that says like temporary stock out, you don't need to worry. We're in 90% of those cases, right? We're going to recover in a very short time frame, and we'll recover in a manner that you shouldn't do anything different, because by the time you take alternative steps, the high majority of the time, we will have recovered and gotten the frame to the lab, and then you didn't have to take extra steps and all that kind of other stuff, right? So when you see situations like this where you're trying to enter a frame for a complete job, and you get a message like this that says temporary out of stock, more frames are on the way, but orders for this frame may suffer some delay, we're just telling you that there could be a slight delay with the job in case you want to mention something to the patient. But you don't need to do anything different, because we are confident we're going to recover, and we're going to still take the frame tied to the complete job order, right? That's really important. We don't want you to change, any kind of if you get any kinds of message like this, right? Don't worry about this. You don't need to worry about doing anything Herculean here, right? However, if you do get a message that looks like this, frame is out of stock for an extended period, right? Sometimes, in very, very rare situations, right, a bestseller might run into production. Production doesn't keep up with demand, right? Or they just outright have breakage with a mold or a tool, and production is delayed, or there's shipping issues coming from other parts of the world, right? Sometimes it's rare, but we sometimes have a situation like that, and for that SKU, we need to mark it as extended back order. It means it's not going to recover in 3 to 5 business days, right? The portal will not allow you to enter the frame tied to a complete job. Because think about that. If we don't have the stock and you enter a frame for a complete job, you're asking me to send the frame, you're asking us to send the frame to the laboratory, but we don't have to send it. So all you're going to have is a job sitting there waiting for a frame, and the patient's going to get angry and disappointed throughout that, right? So what do we say in this message? Well, first, we're advising you it's out of stock for an extended period. And if you're trying to do a complete job, you need to take the frame off the board that you have, the copy that you have, and you send that in to the laboratory, okay, to satisfy that patient order. Make sure you wrap it up with the message, follow your process that Waltman's given you to get that frame into the lab. But what you now need to do is now that you've taken the frame off the board, right, you've done 2 things. Two things to think about here. One is, since you've taken the copy off the board that's now out of stock, you're not going to be offering it for purchase anymore, right? Because you don't have it to sell. So you're not creating any disappointing. You're not creating any disappointing, customers or any negative situations going forward. But you still want to get an order on the books so that when our stock recovers, that you do what? You get that frame in and to backfill on your board, right? So what we'll ask you to do is, once you've taken care of the patient, right? Now you've got to replace the frame for your frame board. Please place a frame only 4-board office, 4-board order for your office. So you would come out here, go to my office, right? Because we won't accept a complete job order, but we will take an order to send it to your office. You want to click my office, right? and you want to make sure that that's the you want to make sure that you toggle it to the correct type, which is the frame board for office. Now, occasionally you might go looking around in the catalog view, and you might find frames that are available for you to order. Our availability to send product to you, it certainly is tied to the brands that Kepler has ordered for you through the program. So as an example, we'll pick the most popular one, right? We'll pick Ray-Ban. There are going to be Ray-Ban SKUs that we carry that you don't have on your frame board, but they may vary because of a sizing issue or desires around fashion or trend and the like. So you could check portal if there's a need for a different frame. You could always check our portal inside the catalog to see if there's another frame that's available. But sometimes what you'll find is you'll find a frame listed, but there may not be. It may be a discontinued frame, and maybe a frame that's no longer available. Most of those are tied as well to what we would call our pool SKUs or our pool assortments, right? When you get out there, if you see that, right, you also want to make sure if you're varying away from your dedicated assortment, you want to go out there and check to make sure, yes, I see a frame, but do you really have stock on it? And you can check that by trying to attempt to order the frame, right? Don't execute the order, but you can check to see, hey, is there stock available for that? And again, we show them out there for a length of time once they've been a part of the program, really because we had members that would say, hey, I want to be able to know, did I buy that frame from you a year and a half ago, right? Or did you carry it a year and a half ago? Because our frames will have a 2-year warranty from the point you sell to a patient, right? So always you can always look at the catalog to see if there's other frames available inside the brand that you've got from us. But if you don't see it there and you need something else, right, that's where your ordering direct from the manufacturer would come into play. That's our welcome guide, or the practice guide, if you will. At this point, I'd like to go ahead and shift to a demo on the portal, if that's okay. And while I'm doing that, let me log in. Let me ask, are there any questions so far? Okay. So when you log in to, the landing page is myframeboard.com. Just like you saw in the guide. We're going to log in. Now, a few things that you'll see across the top here. You're going to see, first of all, you'll see a thing that says contact us. Wallman Customer Service is your one-stop shop for anything, any question around the program and the like, right? So just go straight to Wallman Customer Service as you do for everything, anything related to the Kepler Digital Showroom. We're going to have, if you ever need to have information about the account that, your user, your office, any kind of stuff, right? You just click on that little, the head emoji thing there. That's going to give you your business. I believe this is your master bill too, so don't get worried about that. But it's going to give your phone number, the primary email address that we have on file for your office, which is where, again, if there's information that we need to communicate, not from Wallman but from us, you'll see it there. Be emailed there. Yeah, and then here's your account number, right? So here's where if you were speaking to anybody about your Kepler Digital Showroom account number, that's it right there. So this is KP11302, and then there's your primary lab, right? Now, we've got a few things across that middle, that ribbon right there, right? First of all, this is your home page. If you're ever deep into something and you need to return back to the catalog or the homepage view, always go here. You've got the catalog where, again, you can see everything that we carry the program. Doesn't mean that I can sell everything to you. What we're going to be able to we distribute to you product that's tied to the, or, corporate Kepler has decided for, to bring into your office, right? You can see here, airlock is coming alphabetically. Airlock comes up first, right? Well, airlock is not in your, so unfortunately we cannot distribute airlock to you. If you certainly are interested in airlock, I'll tell you, work with Kepler. We'd be happy to distribute or think about other brands, but this is we're in a position that we can only distribute the product that you've brand from the program, right? It's me.
You guys still there?
No, I'm getting the spinning wheel. And this is the first spinning wheel I've gotten on the catalog or on the portal in a long time. So I'm going to blame it on hotel, motel, Wi-Fi.
Yeah, your video paused too, so I think it definitely is a Wi-Fi.
Yeah, let's do this. Let me all right. All right, let's again, we'll blame it on hotel Wi-Fi. So we're going to browse the entire catalog, and if I want to search by brand, right, here you go. See, now it's working. That's all we would do. But notice how now it says order this frame, right? Because you have taken, Kepler has ordered Anne Klein for you, right? So we have, Anne Klein in your collection. But again, there's additional ways to come out here and think about that, right? You can come out here and look at, let's say, you're not looking for Anne Klein, but let's say you were looking for, some Ray-Ban all fits and what have you, right? You could come out here and you could search by frames, right? And there may be frames here that you don't have on your frame board, but you should always, like I said, check to see, once you select on it, try to order it and see if the product has availability. Okay. That's the catalog. Now, there's one other thing inside the catalog that I think is important. I want to call out really fast. There is this function called download new frames. What this will do for you is this will create an Excel file, and it'll show you very quickly 3 things on Excel file. One, are there new frames, right? So we're going through a refresh or anything like that. You'll see refresh information for the new frames. You'll also see return frames. We're not in refresh right now for you, so you'll notice those 2 fields are blank. But if you ever need an Excel file of everything, right, in the program, it's all right here. Or everything that's in your collection, everything that's in your collection, it's all right here. You're going to have the brand, UPC, style, color, size, wholesale and purchase, right? And then the category and role all right here. So that's a helpful file that sometimes is overlooked, but I wanted to call that out, right? Let's go to my collection. My collection here this is where I think you're going to live, right? You're going to spend most of your time. This is where if you ever needed to know, hey, what's in my collection, Well, it's all right here, right? It's sorted by brand, sorted alphabetically. You can just click individual brands if you like, right? Come out here and see what you got. And if you ever need a print, hey, I need to now. Yes, you've shown me this nice Excel file, but you know what, Steve? What I'd like to also have is I'd like to have a printout of that. All you do is what I would encourage you to do is just do it by brand, because if you do it by all brands, you might lock it up. But go by brand. You hit print my collection. Let me show you what you get here. It's going to come into your download folder, and now you've got a nice PDF of all the products, all the frames you should have for that brand. And the nice thing about this is you get the barcode. So there are practices that instead of keeping the frame, when a patient picks out a frame, and if your habit is to put the frame in the tray. Well, if it takes you 3 hours to enter that job, guess what? That's 3 hours that frame's not on the frame board, or even longer, right? There's a lot of practices we work with. They'll print this out. They'll note the frame, SKU or specific information that's chosen by the patient in your patient file or patient record, but keep the frame on the frame board. And then they use something like this to order their frames when you're going through the lens entry and then the frame entry piece, right? Because there's your UPC and there's your barcode for it. So you just take your scanner and go bang, right? It's that simple. So that's an easy way to make sure you keep the frames on the board at all times. Your orders, there's two things that we're gonna, we'll look at the My Orders section here, right? So My Orders is again where you're going to see the order history in real time. And again, if there's ever a question around that, even if it's at the point of the shipment of the frame, whatever, you always want to, it's Walman customer service, right? So start with Walman customer service there. And then there's a return section here. Now I will leave with you a guide on how to do returns in case you need it, but gang, it is so easy. It is so easy. Again, this is one of those where it's going to be really easy for you to process returns. Let me show you how easy it is. We're just going to go to return requests. And here you want to find the frame that you need to return, right? So start with UPC, style, whatever you want to. But let's say I want to return this frame, right? Here I'm going to ask you, right, for what's the reason? Manufacturer defect, was excess inventory, right? You ordered it for patient approval and they don't want it. And it's a brand new frame and you've got the case, you've got the paperwork, the cleaning cloth, all on yours, right? Was it a frame that we forgot refreshed? Now we're going to do 2 refreshes a year. We're going to give you an RA for 10 to 20% of the frames that make up any given collection by brand. And then within that same brand and that same quantity, we're going to send you a like number of new frames, right? So if we recall 5, I'm going to send you 5. Sometimes, right, members forget to send us all 5 pieces back. They might send 4, or might send 3. And then you realize later, that was part of the refresh from last spring. I need to send it back. Here you simply click my forgot refresh. Or if it's a misshipment, hey, for some reason I got this frame, I couldn't tell you why I got it, right? But nonetheless, we got it. I got to send it back, right? Pick the reason. And there is some, if you need a little bit more information, you can always click on the eye to hover over it to see what's there, right? We're going to ask you, if you select manufacturer defect, I'm going to ask you for what's the reason for the manufacturer defect, right? And there is going to be things like frame coating, poor finishing, right? Misalignment, broken, whatever, right? We're going to ask you those kinds of defects. If you've got patient name and purchase date, great. If you don't, that's fine too. But you have to fill it out. You're going to save and add to your cart, right? And then once you complete your cart, there's going to be there's a few more fields to fill out, and then you just submit it, right? And then you'll get once it's reviewed, you'll get a return authorization via email and a shipping label, and you simply return the product, right? Easy peasy. That's my returns. And again, the Help Center, like I said, it's under construction right now for Kepler, for the Kepler Digital Showroom. in the future, there will be some very nice pieces out there, including like this training guide will be, or the welcome kit will be out here in the help center, so you can refer to it as needed, or when you have new staff members that you need to train. If you and as an aside, if you have new staff members you need to train at any time, and you'd like us to train, please, feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to train a new staff member. And that's our cruise through the Kepler Digital Showroom portal. Any questions here?
When you were in that spreadsheet that you opened,
Yes.
I think that was under the catalog.
Yes.
And
That's exactly right.
you clicked that tab that had all those frames. Are all those ECP facing frames, or is that indication of that new frames file? Is that everything that the that host office will have, or is that everything
Yes.
available?
No, it's everything that they should have in their collection.
Cool. Okay.
Yep. So there's two different ways to have any kind of output, right? Someone were to say, how do I know, I want to know all the frames I should have in my collection. Can you give me a printout of that? And then the first question, and then the way I would answer that is, well, I can give you two different types of printouts. It depends on what you want. One is I give you an Excel file, right, like this, or you can print your collection with the barcodes.
With the barcodes. Got it.
Exactly. There's two different ways you can get it, right? But the fun thing about this one is that when we're in a refresh time, Chris, you'll have what are the new frames we're sending them, and what are the return frames, right? So there's usually these are blank, right? But when we're in a refresh, like if I was in a per frame account right now, you'd have these two things populated, right? Because they would show what are we recalling at that office and what are we sending them in that office. It's a great question. Okay. And at this point in the training, what I would then do, okay, this is where you want to make sure now, this is the knowledge check side of it. The next thing you do is you pick, somebody out of the audience, I would have had them, have their credentials ready to go before you start the meeting. You say, look, just make sure, does everybody have your credentials? Yeah, make sure you've got someone that says, yeah, I've got my credentials. Fine. Okay, great, for myframeboard.com. And then, so at this point in the training, and I'm going to say, okay, Asia, let's see if I did my job properly, right? When they ask you to log in, let's go to myframeboard.com, right? And you're going to take them through the exact steps, right? Show me how. Let's say we're going to do a complete job. So what's the first step of the complete job? Enter the lens order. Okay, gotcha, exactly right. Okay, let's say it's private pay. What's the job type? It's frame to come, frame and closed. Exactly, perfect. Okay, so now let's pretend you've entered your lens order. Now let's order the frame, right? And you want them to walk you through. Can they order the frame properly, right? And then do the VSP scenario, right? So you're going to do private pay, do VSP scenario, right? Make sure they can do those two things, right? And then role play around a frame for the board and a frame for a patient. Okay. If you knock those, you make sure they understand how to do all that, your job is done. Then you're ready to go audit the board. Okay. So that's how I would do it. You want to make sure that it's just not in the old basic sales management, adage, right? You don't want to make sure it's a show up and throw up kind of mode, right? You want to make sure that you're bringing the audience along with you. Make sure that you're asking questions along the way, doing some very basic knowledge checks, right? And at the end, making sure that they can do it. Ask them to do it. And if you notice that they're stumbling or they don't know it, slow down, repeat the step, the thing I would say too, especially in an audience like you probably have on Tuesday morning, if it's a larger crowd, right, you're bound to have a couple people that are like, daydreaming, wishing they were surfing Facebook or something, right? Make sure you make eye contact with them. Maybe you ask them a question or two, right? You pull them back in, right? You don't want them daydreaming while you're going through this. Yes, this is easy, but it's also very easy to make a mistake or do something wrong, and then then they're costing the practice money or they're disappointing a patient. So that's that. Okay. Any questions? Clear as mud?
Exactly.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. So what I'll do is this. I'll send you, again, I hate to send you the one that's got the purple fields in it because, again, it's worthless, right? But it'll give us something to talk to and work from until we get the real one. Let me send that to you. I think that and then tomorrow afternoon, we've got time set. Let me make sure I've got it set already. We do not yet, but what I'll do is let's do it right now. Okay, I just put time on the calendar for tomorrow afternoon, and what we'll do tomorrow is we'll walk through. I'm going to ask, we're going to role play tomorrow. Okay, so come ready to, come ready as if you're going to present it, and present it to me and present it to your peers, and it's okay if we skin our knees. I'd rather skin the knees, if you will, amongst us than in front of the customer. Even then, in front of the customer, it's certainly not fatal. But let's. I want to make sure we role play a little bit this and make sure we're good. And we'll go from here. All right. I thought someone was saying something, but I couldn't.
Yeah, Steve, you're gonna send us that document you just went over.
Yes,
today.
yes. Yeah. As soon as we get off get out of this meeting here, I'll send it right now. So, all right, gang. I'm gonna get
Hey,
a drink
Steve,
of
I got
water.
a question for you.
Yeah,
Can I show you this email and just get what you would respond to it?
sure.
Yeah, just to see what you would say.
Hi, Shay. What
She's
are
at-
we doing with the frames that we currently have here, and we'll be keeping the line, but no tag was sent for them? We have an Oakley frame that is a good seller, and we didn't get a tag for it. Okay.
I
You
know
said
the
go-
answer. I just want to know what your response would be.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. Let's say, Doreen, I'll say thank you for the question. Great question. If it's not a part of the go forward collection, right? I would defer that question to your Kepler, management team. It's not going to be a frame that we support. So be supported outside the program if you need to keep it, if it's a good seller. But certainly a question I would raise to your Kepler management team.
Okay.
Just leave it like that,
Thanks.
let them tell them you can't have that. Right? Or you can have, I love the question, right? Because if it's truly a good seller, Kepler's going to do some homework to see, has it really been a good seller? Right? And if it's been a good seller, then you know what happened? Then what it means is Kepler may have missed that on their assortment selection. Again, not on us, but you can't say that, right? So I would defer that back to Kepler management, and let them have the conversation. Say, oh, is it really a good seller? Oh, we can see that it is. Okay, then why don't you keep a copy of it? That they'll give them direction on how they want to manage it. I don't know what the answer is going to be for them, so we'll just defer it back to them. Very good. All right. Anything else? All right, gang. Thank you. I'll get this document to you. Continue with all the good work, and then we'll get together tomorrow afternoon. Okay. Bless you. All right. Thank
All
you.
right, thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye.